I'm Evan Smith. He's an iconic rock and roll singer whose Bat Out of Hell record, released 35 years ago, is one of the best-selling albums of all time, with more than 43 million copies sold worldwide. He's also an actor whose credits include the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Roadie, and Fight Club. His new album, Hell in a Handbasket, has just been released. He's Meat Loaf. This is Overheard.
We have 15 million kids in our country who grow up below the poverty line.
Most Americans want the same thing. They want a good job.
I realized there weren't a lot of people writing things in my voice, so I realized I had to do it for myself.
And he said, "Kid, I love you because..."
We're a better country than we used to be, but we have more to do and we need to get at it.
I would do that when I wanted to get that buzz you get for working at the absolute top dollar in your field, right?
Meat Loaf, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to you.
No. Oh, that's right. Oh, you're welcome.
Well, thank you for being here, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Hello. It's good to have you. I have to tell you that when I was reading up to remind myself about all the many interesting things about your career, I don't know what surprised me more, to the point that I just made in the intro. 43 million or 35 years ago. I really remember that record like it was yesterday.
So do I, actually. It's a very strange thing. It's a very strange thing about things that are crafted so well, and the words on a page. It's like Gone with the Wind or the Shakespeare plays or anything that. And I am going to compare Bat Out of Hell, Jim Steinman's writing, to a Shakespeare play. Yeah. I'm sorry, people can disagree with me till the cows jump over the moon.
Well, there are a lot of people who agree, apparently.
I understand that, but yeah. I will. Jim Steinman is the most underestimated writer in the world. Mm-hmm. He is such a wordsmith, and there's very few that can touch him. I can, like Don Henley, who wrote Hotel California, the lyrics on that are amazing. But then you get into the people that I admire: Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams, Eugene O'Neill, continues on and on.
None of those guys sold 43 million records worldwide.
No, but if you listen to Jim's, see, Jim just got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. It's about time.
It's overdue.
Yeah, it's overdue. And if you read the Spin Doctor version of Jim's Jim's amount of records sold for Bat Out of Hell, it's up to 45.
He gets it up to 45.
Oh, he gets it up to 45. Yeah, and Bat Out of Hell 2 from 19 to 24. So I'm on those numbers. But if it's good enough for Jim, it's good enough for me.
It's good enough for you. But whichever number is right, I had to actually make certain that these numbers were correct. So Thriller is still the best-selling record of all time.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
AC/DC and Back in Black is number 2 and Bats 3.
Well, isn't it?
No.
Thriller, it's not the Pink Floyd record, Dark Side of the Moon's not in there too? So this is number 3.
It's number 3.
Well, by whatever measure, I mean, the idea that you've outsold the Beatles, you've outsold the Rolling Stones.
Well, not in total amount of records.
But in terms of one record?
Yes, not in total amount of records.
Twice as many copies of Bat Out of Hell were sold as Sgt. Pepper's, the best-selling Beatles record of all time.
Yeah, and I stood in line at midnight to get Sgt.
that
Pepper's.
record.
Yeah.
What was it exactly? That year in 1977, you had the Talking Heads record, Talking Heads 77, come out. You had the first Elvis Costello record. You had your record. You had Fleetwood Mac Rumors come out. You had a lot of great records come out that year, but this is the one that has stood the test of time more so than any of those.
Yeah, it's true. But I think because it started and only 2 radio stations would play it, MMS in Cleveland and NEW in New York.
Yeah.
Now, you can't go wrong with one of the stations playing your record, NEW in New York, which was the biggest
big market,
rock station in the country.
Yeah.
It's a different world today. And MMS in Cleveland and Kid Leo, who was the iconic DJ of the time and known across the country. And then eventually it was Boston picked it up. And then eventually it was Chicago. So we had Chicago, Boston, New York, and Cleveland. Yeah. And then we played Walter Yetnikoff, who was the president of CBS Records, said, "I want you to play." He believed in this record so much. Mm-hmm. And the people that worked underneath him, that worked for Epic Records, the majority of the promotion guys hated it.
Why?
Just because, I think they hated it because it was a struggle for them at radio.
Yeah.
And people would go, we're not going to play this stuff. This stuff is insane. I mean, that's what I was told, and that's what Jimmy was told, because Jimmy and I met at the Public Theater, Joe Papp.
Yeah.
Public Theater, because at the time I was one of 13 actors ever in history on salary to Joe Papp.
Yeah.
Full time.
You know, people don't know that before you were Meat Loaf, the singer, the rock and roll star, you were Meat Loaf, the actor.
I was Meat Loaf, the Shakespearean actor.
Right.
And this is a true story. They put me in As You Like It, and Joe did. And I go up to Joe and I say, Joe, listen, Meat Loaf worked really well for hair on Broadway. It was, it's good for hair.
Right.
But this Shakespeare, shouldn't we use my real name? I mean, Meat Loaf in the program at Shakespeare, isn't that going to be weird? And he looks at me and he says, what? Do you think if Bill wasn't alive today, he wouldn't use Meat Loaf? And turned around and walked away. And I'm standing there going, who the hell is Bill?
Who could he be talking about?
I'm going, Bill? And all of a sudden I went, oh, Bill, William Shea. So, and then I followed him, and he goes, no, I'm serious. I said, he goes, look at the names in this play, Touchstone. And he rambled them off.
Right.
And he goes, believe me, if William Shakespeare was standing here right now and he heard your name, Meat Loaf, it would be in the play.
He'd love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we wound up doing As You Like It and Othello, and there I was, Meat Loaf as Rodrigo. And so what can I tell you?
And from that to Bat Out of Hell, remarkable.
Well, didn't actually go that. That's simply because they called me an actor, and actors don't make records. And Clive Davis, I got really mad at Clive Davis, and I was mad at him for years.
The great New York Times theater critic.
No,
Clive, not
music,
Clive Barnes.
Yeah.
You're talking about Clive Davis, the great music impresario.
And I was angry with him for years and years and years and years and years. And I'll tell you, and so he looked at me and he said, you're an actor. Actors don't make rock records. You're like Ethel Merman. And he said to Jim, turned to Jim, and he said, do you know anything about rock and roll? And I was getting angrier, and Jim didn't say anything, and I turned to him and I said, this man is a walking encyclopedia of rock and roll. How dare you sit there and say to him that he doesn't know anything about rock and roll? He says, not only are you like Ethel Merman, you're like Robert Goulet. And that made me mad.
That was the end. I mean, you can compare me to Ethel Merman, but I draw the line at Goulet.
I love Ethel Merman. I absolutely adore Ethel Merman.
Yeah.
But when he said Robert Goulet, that was it. And I left his office, and it's 5:30 in the afternoon in New York City, and I'm standing on Broadway in the middle of the street, and I am like some crazy person. The cabs are honking at me, and I'm down there, and I won't say it on TV, but I am down there just middle finger in the air and going. And cabs are honking at me, and I'm hitting them, going, get out of my way. And I kind of went Busey on them, if you saw this.
You did?
Apprentice,
okay, well.
And so
a helpful reference point. Thank you very much.
Well, now that's a saying. They added it wrong, but we won't get into that. That's a saying I have now. I said, you better be careful because I'll go Busey on you.
I'll go Busey on you, right.
And so the Shakespeare, and you brought it up earlier before we actually got on the air, and I thought we were on the air, that the people call you Meat, and yes, that's what they do call me, and that's what everybody calls me. Yeah. And it's not that strange once you are around me. It's just like anybody else's name. I mean, I always just say, think of me in the Stu, Chuck, and Frank family. And this is a true story. I was once playing a practice golf round with Chili Davis,
A great baseball player.
great baseball player,
Yeah.
and a guy named Chuck and a guy named Frank. And we got to the fourth hole, and I went, Chili, what was your score? 4. Okay. Frank, what'd you get? Yep. Chuck? Yeah. And Meat got a Chili, Chuck, Frank, Meat. I saved the scorecard.
Did you? Excellent.
It was like
a
totally mind-boggling.
a classic.
So in Clive Barnes, though, he's the only person to ever call me Mr. Loaf, because he said in his review that night and he didn't like the play, but it didn't make any difference for As You Like It. It was running for 12 weeks. No, not it ran for 7 weeks, and we switched over and went to Othello. And so he couldn't make it stop.
I referenced a couple of credits of yours on screen. People think of you from Rocky Horror. They remember you from Fight Club, Roadie. But you've done a lot of stuff over time, movie and television for years and years.
I guess the thing in film that I'm the proudest of, and I really go full bore when somebody gives me a character.
Yeah.
I research him and give him a backstory. I can't say more than anybody, because I don't know what, like the Russell Crowes or the Pacinos or the De Niros or the Meryl Streeps. I have a feeling Meryl Streep does very similar to what I do. I have this funny story about Meryl Streep. I met Meryl Streep in the early 70s, and her boyfriend said, "Oh, my girlfriend's an actor." And I went, "Oh, yeah, Oh, hi, Meryl. It's nice to meet you, and good luck with your acting, okay?"
Right.
So,
never thinking that one day, yeah. Well, you know what? It turned out okay for her.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. But back in New York in the early 70s, everybody was an actor. So it was like, yeah, right, okay. Good luck, Meryl. I know you're going to do great. Yeah. Oh, she doesn't have a prayer. And so I don't know where I was going.
Well, you were talking about characters, and I think the Rocky...
I research to death, and I read so much about what other actors say, Michael Caine, Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
I read an interview with Marlon Brando, and Marlon Brando said, before I will ever work on any line in this script, I will find out who this character is through his body movements. Mm-hmm. And I thought, because body language is the most important thing. And I said, that is so correct. And so that's what I do now. And I've been doing now for the last, 20 years.
Yeah.
And in Fight Club, I forced a director like David Fincher into a shot. And it's at the opening when we're at the, what do they call it, self-help group. And we had to get up and walk and choose a partner. And we were walking, and we finished a shot, and David said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know what you mean. He said, "Well, what was that walk?" I said, "Well, that's the way Bob walks." He goes, "You're kidding." I said, "No." He said, "Well, I have to shoot that." I said, "I was hoping you'd say that." And you'll see it. It's right at the beginning of the movie. In the movie, right, you see a shot. You see Bob get up, start to walk, and all of a sudden David cuts to Bob's feet, and how Bob walks over to Edward.
Yeah.
And I've done that. In 15 different movies.
Isn't that amazing? Do you know when a movie's going to be a success like that, when they're like Rocky Horror? Could you ever have imagined back then when you got into Rocky Horror that it would have the legs that it has had all these years?
I don't, you can ask my wife, I don't think anything that I'm going to do is ever going to be a success. I don't.
Well, it's probably a way not to disappoint yourself if you're right?
Yeah, because a lot of people are not successful because of fear of failure. And I'm not afraid of fear of failure at all, because when I finish something, I have succeeded. If I have set out to do exactly what I wanted to do,
Right.
either in the movie or on a record, then I've succeeded already. You would like people to hear your records because I think that they have been important. Not as the most important ones though were Bat Out of Hell, and people heard that, and the one we put out last year called Hank Cool Teddy Bear, which was based on a screenplay by my friend Killian Kerwin about a soldier named Patrick who was dying, and instead of his life flashing backwards, it flashed forward.
Wow.
And it was an amazing, it was supposed to be a double album, and the record company wouldn't allow a double album, so it became, as my wife Deborah says, you need a Harvard Law degree to understand what the hell you're doing. And I said, I understand it. She goes, well, you and me and no one else. And this one, Hell in a Handbasket.
This is the brand new record. I'm glad
brand new record. Hell in a
Glad we're talking about
Handbasket
it.
is based on the saying, I've been saying it for the last 7 years, 3 times a day. Damn, world has gone to hell in a handbasket. And you do it Southern because it's a Southern kind of phrase.
sounds
you know
better
what I mean?
said with that,
It
right,
does sound. World gone to hell in a handbasket, Ma. So, but I honestly believe that.
Yeah.
I've never seen such division in the world since I've been alive. In every respect, religious, humanity, governments, Democrats, Republicans. It's like, wait a second, you guys used to be able to sort of get along, and now they just like, it's just like every day it's different. And I'm schizophrenic. I go from CNN to MSNBC over to Fox News. So,
Well, it's probably healthy. At least you're listening to everybody as opposed to only one.
oh yeah, I hear
right?
Chris Matthews, I hear Sean Hannity. I'll have to admit my favorite is Neil Cavuto because he is really funny, and he has the best sense of humor, and he just so he
But that diet of cable shows doesn't make you more unhappy about the world.
It probably does.
Yeah.
It probably does.
I mean,
it makes me schizophrenic, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Because
But this is not a political record. Let's be clear about
it
this.
it is in a sense, not in a political record as you not like there was a band in Australia called Midnight Oil,
Right.
which was a very political
That's the
record.
big bald guy. Right?
Yeah, hits you over the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's so political. And U2 gets political, but they kind of hit you with a rubber hammer. And I guess Springsteen, I guess this new record of his is a bit political, so I haven't heard it yet.
He hit you with a bandana.
Okay, a bandana. He borrowed one from Bon Jovi.
Right.
And so this record really deals with an internal struggle, and it deals with humanity and compassion and truth, and it also deals with the hatred that has been presented to us in the world today that we live in, and the hatred is rampant, and I truly blame a lot of it on the internet. And it's crossed from the internet and from the public, what do they call those? Because I don't do Twitter and all that stuff.
Yeah, social media.
Social media, yeah, that's right. But the anonymous comments at the bottoms of these pages, I mean, when Whitney died, I didn't know Whitney very well, but I'd seen her in '84 and had a 45-minute conversation with her. And it was one of the few musicians I've ever had a conversation with that lasted that long. I can talk to actors for hours, but musicians, I need an interpreter because I really know nothing about music. And you laugh, but I don't know anything. So anyway, back to where I was about the record. It really deals with humanity and compassion and the fear that we live in, and the hatred that comes from those comment pages, those anonymous and I think that hatred has left the comment pages and gone into the streets. I think people have now said, well, if I can do it online, I can take it to the streets. And all the schools shootings started along the same time with the bullying and this and the thing. And it used to in school, you'd go to school and I was bullied. The difference in me being bullied and the small person being bullied is they bullied me because I was bigger than they were. So my way of getting unbullied was to kick their ass. And that stopped it. Trust me. Nobody talked to me, but they didn't bully me. But I think that, and Whitney passed away, and I was reading a news article, and it started off, you know, we're saying prayers, God bless her family, and as I read along, it started to become racist and hate and hate,
yeah.
and saying, you know, well, everything she got, I mean, it just kept going on, and I just finally closed the computer, and I just went, this is what the record is really about.
Yeah.
It's about where is the humanity?
Yeah.
Someone dies, you show humanity, you show compassion.
Right.
Where is that gone to? And if you go song by song with Helen and Handbasket, I do hit you over the head with a hammer, and it does get very political, on a song called Mad, Mad World, which was written by a Canadian named Tom Cochrane in 1990, a song I've loved. Now, he does very mellow version of it. I come at you like a steamroller.
Yes, you do.
And I asked the godfather of rap, Chuck D, who is the rapper's rapper who every rapper wants to be, I was going to do Johnny Cash, God's Gonna Cut You Down, because I thought the lyrics are very apropos to what we were doing. So I sent them up to Chuck D. 4 days later, I got back from Chuck D, good God's a woman and she don't like ugly. And he had read my mind. Now, he has a certain style of poetry, but I never was a fan of rap. I would never put it down because I would never put down the artist or any. It's like we go into, you don't like Picasso, so you go to the museum, and because you don't like Picasso and you like Monet, you take your razor blade and slice Picasso, and that's how people treat artists now. They slice them with razor blades, and it would be unthinkable to go in because you don't like Picasso.
This dovetails with everything you're saying about the record. People just feel like they can do whatever they want. It's crazy.
And we talk about. Oh, you need a break?
Well, I'm saying they're telling me we're just about to be out of time here.
No, we're not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We talk about people trying to help other people, even though they don't want a song called Another Day. But you feel that at the end of the song, the people that are trying to help this person who is depressed or whatever are not going to stop.
Yeah.
They're going to continue the humanity.
Yeah. That's hopeful.
Yeah, and the whole album speaks in metaphors. Because I speak in metaphors constantly, but when you get like this second song, "Giving Tree," it says, "I want to get back to living like I did before, with a mattress on the floor and no food in my kitchen."
Right.
That's not really what I want to happen. What I'm really saying is, and what that song is really saying is, listen, I've had all these things happen in my life, but you know what? I need to get back to who I am and who I was. And I've always tried to be who I am. My quote has always been, I'm like Popeye the Sailor Man. I am who I am, right. And that's all that I am.
Well, I love that.
And I'm always, and people go, I'm always amazed, truly amazed when I walk into some place and somebody knows who I am. Because I don't think of myself in that light. I'll get into a room with like a De Niro and people like that, and I'll go, wow, I'm in a room with all these people, and there's me too.
But you know what? They're also probably thinking, I'm in a room with Meat Loaf.
But the album is fantastic, and and it's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Well, let's hope that the album is as successful, if not 43 million copies. Then let's get a bunch of copies.
Hey,
for the
you
record
know,
sold.
I'll settle for this group listening.
Okay,
to
good.
It.
So, I think we got a few covered over here. Meat Loaf, an honor to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Congratulations on everything. Thank you very much. Meat Loaf, very well.